Hallo und herzlich willkommen zu einer weiteren Folge des Podcastes Wandelstark mit resilienten Netzwerken zu wahrem Leadership. Mein Name ist Katja Michalek. Ich freue mich sehr, dass du dabei bist und dies wird eine besondere Folge, denn ich habe mich entschieden, diese und auch die nächste Folge auf Englisch zu produzieren. Warum? Ich habe festgestellt, dass ich immer mehr Zuhörer und Zuhörerinnen aus dem internationalen Raum habe und dass der ein oder andere zwar sehr gut Deutsch kann, aber sich vielleicht auch mal freut, ein bisschen Input auf Englisch zu bekommen. Deswegen werde ich diese Folge und auch die nächste Folge auf Englisch stattfinden lassen. Ich wünsche dir ganz, ganz viel Spaß und freue mich über deine Kommentare, deine Empfehlungen und deine Fragen. Let's talk about resilience today. Resilience is a word that has become more and more popular in the last years, especially since the pandemic. And a lot of people don't really have an idea what resilience is. For a lot of people, resilience just means being strong, having an armor or something, or being optimistic and not suffering any setbacks. And quite often I hear the sentence, you just have to be resilient. But it's not that easy because resilience consists of 7 different threads in the model I created. And I'm going to explain the 7 threads because if you understand what resilience really is, then you have a chance to strengthen your own resilience and use it. And that's the secret behind it. If you know what resilience consists of, which different threads it consists of, you can use them step by step by step. And then also you know which of the threads is stronger and which is, let's put it that way, not that strong. But let's move back one step and look at where resilience comes from, because resilience has been around for decades. Resilience has been around for millions of years since people exist, or since human beings exist. But in science, in psychology, it has been around for decades. And it was first discovered, was first viewed upon by a scientist, a psychologist named Emily Warner. And she studied, or she worked with, children in the slums of Kauai in Hawaii. Over 10, 20, 30 years. It was a long-term study. And she realized that 70% of these children, having grown up in the slums, stayed in the slums and were alcoholics, drug addicts, prostitutes, criminals, like they had learned in their past and when growing up. But 30% of these children, they managed to escape the slums and build themselves a normal life, like in our standard, a normal life. And she got curious and checked out, wanted to discover what makes these children different. What sets them apart from the 70%. And that's where she described resilience the first time. And psychology has done a lot of research since then, and there are different models of resilience. And the model I created for all my clients to use is the model of the inner spider web. That's how I describe resilience. And where does the name come from? It actually comes from physics. If you take a sponge and if you try to crush it, what happens if you open your hand again? It will spring back to its original form. That's where the word resilience comes from originally. But now psychology uses this as the mental capacity to endure hard times, to get up once you've fallen down, to continue if something went wrong, and to stay mentally stable although really bad things have happened to you. That's what resilience means. And the 7 threads of the inner web, that's what I'm going to explain to you now. Let's start with the first one. The first thread is goal orientation. Goal orientation means that you're able to set your own goal, to have a sense of purpose of where you're going. And the sense of purpose is very important because sometimes someone else sets a goal for you. For example, if your best friend wants to climb a mountain with you and pushes you to come along, you might actually set this goal as well and embrace it. But if you really don't feel it, if you really don't want to go, then the first thing that goes wrong will give a perfect excuse for not going along. I never really wanted to do it. So if something goes wrong, you're not going to continue because you don't really feel the goal. That's what I mean with sense of purpose. And that's why it's so important for leaders as well to make the purpose clear of the goal they're setting for their employees. If the employees, if they can't set their own goals, which sometimes happens in companies, in the corporate surroundings, then, and if they don't understand what they're doing that for, they are not going to be willing to go the extra mile or to continue if times get rough or if they fall into hard times. So goal orientation is the first thread, meaning that you have to be able to understand the why. And it's not about stubbornly sticking to a plan, but to have a direction, to have a vision that gives you the energy to continue even if times are rough. The second thread of the inner web is the belief in your own effectiveness, self-efficacy. To know what your strengths are. The confidence, I can do this. I've managed other things as well. I've overcome other problems already. I've managed that, although it has been hard, and that helps me to continue if something else goes wrong. So, how do you build up self-efficacy? If you look back at what you've accomplished, look back at what you've already accomplished, and also celebrate the things that went well. So celebrate your successes. That's what helps you to build up the belief in yourself. That was the second thread. So believe in yourself, believing in your own effectiveness, that's very important, but also it's important to believe in the greater good or in that things will be all right. Optimism. And it's not naive, wishful thinking. It's the belief that if you do everything that's in your power, that things will move into place. And even if they don't move into place, there's a reason for that. And at the end, the outcome is going to be to your own, for your best. Optimism is also to be able to see the opportunities, to see the positives, even in challenging situations. If you're not optimistic, let's assume you want to climb the mountain. You might really want to go there, and you might really believe in yourself, in your capability to train for that, to get fit enough for that. But if you're not optimistic, you might say, with my luck, it's going to be raining anyway. So why go through all the trouble? You see where I'm heading for? So if you're not optimistic, you're not going to do what's necessary, although you really want to go there. So optimism is one part. It's not all of resilience. It's one of 7 threads. Then look at the 4th thread, which is emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is very important, and I think that's something that a lot of us haven't really learned, because emotional regulation doesn't mean to push away the feelings you have, the bad feelings, the fear or the anger, but it's about recognizing them, accepting them, and then to be able to steer your feelings, to use the energy of your feeling to go along. If you can't regulate your emotions, then what's going to happen? You're either going to push away the fear or the anger, and it will come out months or years later in some sort of form, or it really overcomes you and you're really paralyzed by it. If you don't realize, if you don't let yourself look at what you're fearing to find a way to overcome the fear, then it will paralyze you in the end. So it's not pushing them aside, it's about using them. Because there's a reason they're there. And it's worth looking at them. So to be able to feel them, to realize what's there, and not being like, I shouldn't be afraid. No, stupid thing. I'm not afraid. It's not that. It's about realizing that and then using it. And also, if you're in leadership, in a leadership position, if something goes wrong and you realize that your team is afraid, it's not about, you don't have to be afraid. No, everything's going to be all right. So being overly optimistic doesn't help people who are really worried. So give them the space to use or to say that they're worried, what they're worried about. So you can look at it and find a solution for that. Or by talking about it, sometimes you realize, okay, really, that's what I'm afraid about? Okay, well, how big are the chances that this is really going to happen? So give room for the emotions to be there, because otherwise they're going to be in your way after a while. Pushing the emotions away is what you do in the next thread, which is impulse control. Impulse control means something is happening and you have the impulse to react in a certain way. It's like if someone attacks you, you have the impulse either to the fight or flight reflex. That's what it is basically. So if someone shouts at you, you'll have you have the intuitive reaction of either fleeing or fighting back. Impulse control means you decide what you want to do. You have a gap between what happens, the action, and your reaction. There's a small window. And impulse control is using this window, making it wider, and then deciding what you want to do. In a way, that's pushing away the feelings, because if someone shouts at you, you might feel anger inside, but you decide not to use it in this moment. You decide to be polite anyway. Impulse control is also about staying disciplined. Because if you're working on a project or something, there will be a moment where it feels hard and unnerving, and you don't really get on, and you don't get ahead, and you're like, oh gosh, really? Do I really have to finish that? And then someone else comes along with a different project. It's new, it's exciting, but you haven't finished the first project. So impulse control is about not chasing after the next shiny object. It's about pushing away the fear of missing out. It's about continuing on the path you've decided to go, even if it's getting tough, or if it's getting boring, or if it's getting annoying, or if you fall into hard times. So it's the ability to be disciplined, but also the ability to decide whether it's worth continuing on this path, or if you want to change the path. So it's about direction, or it's about a decision you make, and not a decision that someone else makes for you. So impulse control is about responding calmly, and it's about staying disciplined. It has two facets. What helps in dire straits or when times get rough is being empathetic with yourself and with others. If someone shouts at you and you understand why, you have a deep understanding of that, then it's easier for you to redirect your feelings and not taking it personally if you have empathy as the sixth thread. And that's also very important. So to understand, okay, this person is afraid, or this person is angry because I'm not afraid, but the other person, my teammates are afraid. So I give them room for that. Empathy is also the trait which helps you to have really good social relationships. If you're not empathetic with your friends, they won't be there if you fall into hard times. So empathy is about noticing others, listening to others, connecting with them, being respectful. And also, and that's the second facet of this thread, it's also important to have empathy with yourself, to forgive yourself if you've done something wrong. This is also very important, because we always, if things go wrong, if something doesn't work out the way you decided or you wanted to, sometimes some of us are really hard to ourselves. We're like, why did I do that? Why didn't I do that? Why did I do that? Why didn't I manage a bit better? Empathy is about forgiving yourself so you can move on and don't continue in this spiral and this negative thinking. And then we move into the seventh and last thread, which is causal analysis. Causal analysis is the ability to self-reflect, to understand what went wrong, why, and what was my part in it. It's not about sugarcoating mistakes. It's not about pointing fingers and saying, that's his fault, or that's because of the economy, or that's because of that. But it's about being self-critical, not overly critical, but self-critical and saying, okay, what happened? What was my part in it? And what can I learn from that? And that is very important. It's about learning from your mistake. So you can continue, and next time you know that it's going to be better. So we have the 7 threads of the spider web, which is goal orientation, to have a sense of purpose. We have the belief in your own effectiveness, the self-efficacy. We have optimism. We have emotional regulation. We have impulse control. And we have empathy. And last but not least, we have causal analysis. And if you understand all 7 threads and how they go together, then you can master every difficulty. Because then you know which steps to take and which threads you can pull or which threads you can make stronger. And if you know yourself well and know that impulse control, for example, is not your strength, then you have a possibility to work on that. So it's not about just being more resilient. It's about working on your impulse control to make you more resilient. And that's the secret, to know the 7 threads and how strong your own threads are. Because then you can really use them step by step and go, it's like a checklist. You can really use it as a checklist. If you fall into hard times, you can use it as a checklist. Like, what was my goal? Why did I do that? Why did I start it? I wanted to go there. Okay. Okay, and it went wrong now. So what am I feeling about that? Shit, I'm feeling afraid. And at the same time, I'm feeling angry. Okay, why? Okay, and what can I do about that? It's about the impulse control, about, okay, I'm not gonna drop everything and move to Canada. I'm gonna find a way. So you can really use it as a checklist. And then you have oxygen in your brain, and then you can really decide what you do. And then you can learn from that and go the next step. And also you can use it as a checklist to steer your team through hard times or just simple change. You need resilience just to master a simple change. It doesn't really have to be hard times. It's also about mastering change. But if you use all 7 threads, then you can really take everyone with you. That's what resilience is. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Thank you so much. Have a good time. Bye-bye.